So today I'm going to be telling my birth story and NICU experience story 1 year later. It was officially 1 year on December 20th, and I'm finally getting to sit down and tell the story because I've told a little bit of the story on my channel intro video, but I wanted to make a video going more into depth of the story. So yeah, if you are new here, my name is Jenna. I'm a first time mom to my son Kason. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get onto the video. Oh, before I get into the video, I'm trying to figure out what schedule I want to have for my videos, like what uploading schedule I want to have, so if you are new to my channel and you like watching my videos, you know when to expect the next video. I was doing Wednesday and Sunday, but it's just been really hard because of the holidays to kind of stick to that. So for right now, I don't really have a set schedule, but I will be uploading 2 videos every week. There will always be 2 videos every week, but until then, they might just be random. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the video. So I remember on December 19th, I went in for a cervix check, and my OB always did an ultrasound for every single appointment, so he can always make sure everything's going good with the baby, which I totally agree with. I agree with ultrasound every appointment, that we can keep track of their fluids, make sure their heart rate's good, they are growing good. So I'm really glad he did do ultrasounds every appointment, because he was able to catch an issue with Kason when I went to my cervix check on December 19th. So it's just like an ordinary appointment. You know, I was going in to get checked. I didn't really dilate more than like a 2. So for the last like couple appointments, I was like, I'm probably just gonna be a 2 again, like always. That's what I was for a few weeks. So I went in, he did check my cervix, and it still was at a 2. So I was kind of disappointed because I kind of wanted to hoping Kason would come a little earlier, if before Christmas, because I didn't want him to come on Christmas. So I was kind of hoping he'd come before or a few days after. So I went in for that appointment. He did the cervix check, and then I laid down for the ultrasound. And so we started doing the ultrasound, and he kind of looked at it like, and I remember looking at him like, what? what? And he's like kind of quiet, and he's looking around the screen with the mouse, and he's like, so it looks like your amniotic fluid's low. And knowing me, I have anxiety and I panic really easily. I was like, what do you mean my amniotic fluid's low? It's like, your fluid's low, so it looks like you'll be having a baby either today or tomorrow. So we're gonna have to send you up to the hospital, labor and delivery, and we're just gonna have to get this baby out as soon as possible. So after the appointment, they hooked me up to like this machine that like they strap around your stomach, and it like tracks the baby's heart rate. They made me sit on that machine until my boyfriend got there and my mom got there, and the whole time I was sitting in that room, I was just bawling, worried about the baby. I was like, was there something I did wrong? Like, I was blaming myself, and I was just so worried that I was gonna lose Kason, but luckily I didn't. But my mom got there, she's like, you'll be fine, this happens to so many people, he's not gonna die, they're gonna get you in and get him out as soon as possible. So yeah, so after that, I went and packed all my bags, and then we went straight to the hospital. They sent me straight to the room, I changed into the hospital gown, and then I just waited on the bed. I didn't really start getting contractions until about 6 p.m. that same night, and they were terrible. They're not as bad as people made them sound like. Like, people made them sound like there's gonna be terrible pain, you'll just be screaming in agony, but that it was not the case. They were not that bad, but they were painful, very painful, but they were not as bad as people made it sound like. So at about 10 p.m. I asked for my epidural because I just could not stand the contractions anymore. And the reason why I waited so long is because I was terrified, because the needles are so long and thick, and when they brought that needle in, I was like, oh my gosh, like so scared. But the epidural ended up going smooth, and then after they gave me the epidural, I finally relaxed, and I just drew on my iPad, like on my Procreate app, just waited and waited. I was really anxious. They came in and checked me about an hour after they did the epidural, and I was only dilated to like a 4. They started me on Pitocin like soon after I went there, like whatever the stuff that like softens your cervix. So it's kind of they were kind of hoping I would have him that same day, but that wasn't the case. I went to bed around midnight because I was having a really hard time sleeping, because for when I was being pregnant and being 9 months pregnant and trying to get comfortable while sleeping is a challenge. So even before I had Kason, like a month or two before, I was not sleeping good because it's so hard to get comfortable and you have like a big belly. But anyways, so yeah, I fell asleep around 12 a.m. and then I woke up at about 6 a.m. to a nurse that came in and was checking everything, his heart rate. She checked my cervix, and my boyfriend was came over to the bed with her, and he's like, I see blood on the bed. And she's like, oh, you do, really? So I was like, what? And then there was like, my boyfriend said there was like, looked like water leaked out onto the sheet. So I was like, oh, maybe my water broke. So she checked me, and it was about, when that happened, it was about maybe 8 a.m. So she went and told all the nurses and then called the doctor so he can drive over to the hospital, because he was at his clinic, you know, seeing other patients and stuff. So, and then by the time he got there, it was about 9, and that's when I started pushing. I pushed for 2 hours. 2 hours. I had the hardest time catching a breath and then pushing, because you know you have to like take a breath and breathe. So I did push for 2 hours. And then he finally came at about 11:46 a.m. So almost 3 hours. I lied, 2.5 hours. So he arrived finally at 11:46 a.m. I don't really remember a lot because there was so much going on, but I remember bawling my eyes out because for some reason I felt the need to bawl. So I cried. And so I cried and cried, and then they kind of took Kason. They hurried, wrapped him up, and handed him to me, and they're like, we can't do skin to skin, we have to get him to the NICU ASAP. And I was like, wait, why? And they wouldn't tell me. They just grabbed Kason and wheeled him away. And I remember I was so confused. I was like, well, why are you taking my baby? Like, what the heck? I just had him. Like, I want to hold him. And then about a few minutes later, a nurse came in and said, we need to take him to the NICU. He looks like he's having breathing problems. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like so worried. I started bawling again, worried about my baby. And she's like, no, he'll be okay. He's in good hands. We're gonna go back and check, make sure, we're hooking him up to machines, make sure he's doing good, because his breathing does seem labored. And so they took him back, and I went, and I couldn't move. My legs were still completely numb, so I couldn't like follow them or go to the NICU quite yet. So I remember just sitting in the bed like depressed, because I just had my baby and they just took him from me right away. Didn't get experience skin to skin, anything like that. They just took him straight away. So about an hour or two later, they asked if I wanted to be pushed to the NICU on my bed to see Kason, and I was like, yes. So I went back and saw him. It was really sad. He was hooked up. They had a breathing machine, a feeding tube, all these things hooked to his head. He had an IV literally in the top of his head. And I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, it made me so sad. I was crying and like touching his small hand, and I just didn't understand what was going on. So one of the NICU nurses finally explained to me that he had pneumothorax. And what pneumothorax is it's where the sacs in your lungs burst, and it causes like breathing, like delayed breathing and stuff. And how that happened is when he took like his first breath to cry, he breathed in really hard and it caused them to burst. So he had to be in the NICU, and they had to wait for them to heal. And the first sac that bursted healed like a day later, and the second one took a few more days, like a day or more to heal. So the second one healed like a few days later, and so they took him off the breathing tube. He still had to be in the NICU because he ended up having jaundice as well, so he was under lights, and so he had to be in there for about 3 more days. So they had him under lights, and then they had these like sunglasses, like felt looking sunglasses over his eyes to protect his eyes. It was actually pretty cool. I'll go ahead and insert a picture of that right here. And so yeah, and then I went into the NICU like 2 or 3 days later because I was able to walk, and I went and saw him, and they let me hold him even though he's hooked up to all those cords. They wrapped him in a blanket and handed him to me, and I got to hold him. And I remember just crying and saying, this isn't fair, why'd this have to happen to Kason? Like, I was just so worried that something was gonna go wrong, he was gonna die, because I do have anxiety, so that's like something I think all the time. But anyway, so yeah, and then I got to feed him for the first time. I didn't breastfeed him yet because I didn't quite have my milk yet. It was really weird. So I got to feed him one of those. If you've ever been to a NICU, they have these like little plastic Similac bottles that have like a little tan nipple. If you know what I'm talking about, they're kind of like the pre-made formulas. But I remember feeding him for the first time, watching him eat it. It was so adorable and so cute, and I finally got to spend some quality time with him. And then I went back to my room, to my recovery room. I remember just laying there, just depressed, because you know, most moms are taking care of their babies while they're recovering, and I didn't get to experience that, so it was pretty sad. And so the next day they released me. I went home. Well, not really home, we were living in a hotel at the time because we had a house fire. So we went back to the hotel. I went, and I was just so depressed. Like, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was just so worried about Kason. I actually got released on Christmas Eve, so I just spent Christmas Eve without Kason. And you know, we were at my grandma's house because we go to her house every Christmas Eve and like open presents and stuff. And the whole time I was there, I just didn't want to be there. I wanted to be at the NICU with my baby. So that Christmas Eve was kind of sucky for me. And that's when my milk came and I got fully engorged, and that was like the most painful thing ever. I was actually up all night crying on Christmas Eve night because I tried to pump and it would not come out. It was like clogged, and I remember just crying in agony because it was so painful. But luckily the next day I went and visited him in the NICU, and I was able to I was trying to get him to latch, and he would not. They even use those plastic nipple things that makes like the nipple more prominent, and they put that on me, and he still wouldn't latch. I was really disappointed and in a lot of pain, so I was really hoping he'd be able to latch and like get some of it out. And usually after they latch, the milk naturally comes down. And so after that, I went back to my hotel after I visited him for a few hours, and I was able to pump, and it was the best thing ever. I felt relieved. I wasn't in as much pain anymore, because that's like, I think that was more painful than the contractions. Like, that pain was way worse, the being fully engorged and it not coming out. So I was able to pump. I pumped a few bags and stored them in the freezer for Kason, and then I went to bed. I woke up, it was Christmas Day, and I got a call from the hospital saying, we have the best Christmas gift you will ever receive. Kason is able to come home today. I remember being really excited and also really nervous because, you know, that was after that, he was all mine, all my responsibility. And I remember being nervous, like, what if I'm not a good mom? What if I do something wrong? Like, I remember thinking that, but at the same time being excited because I didn't get to spend much of any time with him. So I was really excited. So my parents took me to the hospital. We got his car seat ready and a blanket, and we went up to the NICU, and we waited for them to unhook all the machines. He was off his feeding tube. He was done being under the lights. And I remember they had him in this red Christmassy pajamas, and they were really cute. But I had a pair that my aunt gave me that I wanted to put on him, and I actually saved those. They're downstairs. If I ever vlog and I'm down there, I will definitely show you those, because I did keep Kason's first outfit. So I put them on. And he had a little hat on, and I took a picture of him, and I remember just being so excited. We packed him in the car, we drove back to the hotel, and then I chilled in my parents' hotel room because me and my boyfriend were staying in a separate one so we could have room for like his bassinet and everything. So, and then on Christmas Day he was just swinging, and my grandparents came over and saw him. Keep in mind, this was before COVID. This was a few months before COVID. So there was no COVID restrictions. No one even really was thinking about COVID at that time. It was actually really nice. I missed that time because I seriously hate COVID. But they came over and they saw him. They washed their hands and sanitized, of course, because that's what you do before you hold a newborn anyway, because their immune systems aren't great. But they came and saw him, and it was just amazing. Like, that literally was the best Christmas gift I've ever received, is getting to take Kason home on Christmas Day. And I remember thinking that it was a Christmas miracle that he was able to come home on Christmas Day, is the day that his body attacked the jaundice and the infection and the pneumothorax. Like, I was just so blessed that he was okay and that he was able to come home. Pretty much my birth and NICU story. I'm not the best at explaining or telling stories, so I do apologize if I suck at that, because I do. I know that I do. I also have a really hard time staring at the screen, so I do look around a lot. I do fidget with my hair a lot. That's just something I do. So if that annoys you, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's pretty much my birth and NICU story. If you enjoyed this video and would like to check out my other videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.